The Prime Minister says today's cabinet reshuffle focuses on her priorities for next year: jobs, the economy and sharing the benefits of growth. It also has a few other benefits. It injects some talented new blood, dumps a minister seen as a supporter of her rival and consolidates Julia Gillard's power base. The big winner is Bill Shorten, who takes up the job of workplace relations, and we'll be hearing from him shortly. But as political editor Heather Hewitt reports, the Prime Minister has expanded her cabinet because at least one minister simply refused to go.
No, the political year is not over yet. Just as the nation thought it might be getting a bit of a break from its politicians, they were back in Canberra in full force today, the place abuzz with talk of a ministerial reshuffle.
Is the need for a reshuffle an admission of failure by the government?
You could probably ask the questions about a reshuffle 10 different ways. My answer's still going to be it's a matter for the Prime Minister.
You looking forward to the reshuffle?
Just about to talk to my wife.
By early this afternoon, the news out of their promotions to Cabinet, they'd found their voices for the media.
I am absolutely stoked that our Prime Minister has given me this privilege. I completely and utterly support our Prime Minister.
I'm delighted to have been appointed to the Prime Minister's Cabinet, particularly to focus on the theme of fairness.
What did the PM say to you?
She offered me the health portfolio and I said, yes, please, thank you very much.
They were three of the big winners from Julia Gillard's lunchtime announcement, but there were more, in a shake-up bigger than expected.
I believe that with this new cabinet in place, we will see an important mix of new energy and talent, as well as wise heads and experienced heads in cabinet. We will see this new mixture, which will give us the focus and the firepower we need in 2012 to pursue the government's priorities.
Apparently so much so that Julia Gillard has had to expand the cabinet by 2 to 22. But there may be more to it than that. Government ministers are saying privately that at least one of their team, the Minister for School Education and Early Childhood, Peter Garrett, threatened to quit if he was forced out of cabinet. The Prime Minister's office strongly denies this.
The size of the cabinet has been increased because of the breadth of the government's reform priorities. What has driven me as I've shaped this reshuffle, and it is my decision as a leader, obviously, who serves in which portfolio and who serves in cabinet. What has driven me in this reshuffle is making sure that the government's big reform priorities for 2012 are represented around the cabinet table.
Whatever the case, Peter Garrett stays, and so does former Attorney-General Rob McClelland, but with the new title of the Minister for Emergency Management and Housing. The big loser is former Minister for Innovation and Industry, Kim Carr, a Victorian left-wing heavyweight. He's been dumped from the Cabinet and now has the manufacturing portfolio.
I have asked Kim Carr to continue to serve in areas for which he has a lifetime passion and has done some tremendously good work.
Is it a good move for her to demote Kim Carr, a well-known Victorian left-winger?
Well, I don't think it is, because I think that Senator Carr is potentially a very serious adversary. It's not the sort of person I would like to have as an enemy. But I think that Senator Carr, who's a former factional convener, one of those famous factional faceless men, if you will, could easily return to his former skills, and that could cause some trouble for Gillard further down the track.
What Julia Gillard has done is elevated those she hopes will prove to be better salesmen for the government. For example, Bill Shorten takes over the workplace relations portfolio after what was considered to be a lacklustre performance by his predecessor, Chris Evans. It's an issue that Labor plans to highlight in the next election campaign.
Let me be clear, there is a very stark contrast between the government's approach to workplace relations and that of the opposition. The government believes very strongly not only in creating jobs, but making sure that the jobs that are created are good quality jobs where people get a fair go all round at work.
And I've asked Bill not only to focus on our fair work agenda, as important as that agenda is, but to also broaden our description and thinking about workplace relations so that it deepens our national understanding of how our workplaces are changing.
Basically, the Prime Minister is trying to buy the loyalty of the faceless men. These are the people who put her in there a year or so back. They're obviously thinking of shifting to Mr Rudd. Well, she's trying to buy some insurance with this reshuffle.
Tony Abbott's negative about everything, so, of course he's negative about the reshuffle. What else would you expect?
The Prime Minister and her new ministerial team were all about looking united and positive today, despite those ever-present mutterings about Kevin Rudd, who'll now have to sit across from one of Julia Gillard's chief supporters, Bill Shorten, in the Cabinet room.
He's a man on the move, we all know that, and so we watch him with great interest. A potential Labor leader, potential Prime Minister, who knows. He's also pretty effective in the policy debate.
To try to put her reshuffle in the very best light, Julia Gillard today emphasised her promotion of women. Nicola Roxon becomes Australia's first female Attorney-General, and Tanya Plibersek goes into health and the Cabinet room. The Prime Minister regards both as strong media performers and efficient operators.
I am determined, being the first woman to serve in this position as the nation's Prime Minister, to see women take their full and equal place in our nation's decision-making. I'm very pleased as a result of this set of changes, the nation will see its first ever female Attorney-General, and we will add another woman to our Cabinet and another woman to our ministry.
I look forward to the time my daughter, who's 6, will live in a country where there won't be many things that'll be the first that a woman will be. There'll have been many female Prime Ministers, there'll have been female ministers in all sorts of areas.
But will any of this matter to voters, especially at a time of year when they're more preoccupied with Christmas parties and summer holidays? The Prime Minister has sought to stamp her authority on this reshuffle, but in the long run, will it do anything to shift those troublesome opinion polls?
Well, the Prime Minister needs to do something because the opinion polls are this side of disastrous for her at the moment. 2 opinion polls have come out, showed Labor would be lucky to amass enough lower house MPs to form a parliamentary cricket team. So they're in real trouble. And this is supposed to be after 2 or 3 weeks of that were good for the government.
Labor does have 2 years to try to turn things around. It can only hope that today's reshuffle might help.
Heather Ewart with that report.